What's a good word, y'all? DKB here. So when I sit back and I kind of review some of the comments that I get on my videos, I check out some of the other YouTubers, Bleacher Report's Jets community fan base, and I kind of get the feeling that we're having a little bit of shell shock. The New York Jets, and specifically within like the last 10 to 15 years, we've been run pretty porously, quite frankly. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that we really tried to buy success and it didn't pan out. And that's not to say that it can't work. We just seen the Rams essentially pull it off, mortgaging a lot of their future high round picks and capitalizing on, regular season success with large contracts that have been getting doled out recently due to achieving a Super Bowl. So there's definitely multiple ways to win, as plenty of people have said in the past. But when it comes to Joe Douglas, he is quite frankly the antithesis to a lot of the GMs that we previously had, where he has his price, he has his number, and he's not really willing to go beyond and above that in most circumstances. I think we can definitely say there would be some exceptions in terms of some of those key positions. Think offensive line, think the defensive line, of course, since we have Joe Douglas as our offensive guy, essentially, and then Robert Saleh as our defensive guy. And then, of course, things like quarterback and maybe a prime weapon like a number one wide receiver, like we've seen with the potential Tyreek Hill trade. So it's not like he won't go out of his way, but when you take a further look into it, he's still not, trying to set trends in the market necessarily. And if things pan out our way, we will cross that bridge and we'll see how Joe Douglas responds to it. But I personally love it. The fact that we're not going out here and having to mortgage our future, having to cut our foot off just to say, come to New York and play for us is definitely a refreshing breath. There's plenty of players we brought in before, and as a fan base, we all weren't even on board with the signings, and then it hurt that much more because we gave them a ridiculous contract to come in, and then they just never lived up to it. And I think one of the more recent things in memory was cornerback Tremaine Johnson. And, he was almost, for me personally, a guy that I trade immediately in like every Madden game when I'm starting up. And he just played very porous for us. It was almost like he knew he secured the bag. And then at that point, it didn't really matter what happened after. So I know for us, we had two very important players that could potentially mean a lot of success or failure for our offense and defense, depending on if we can capture them and if they end up being significant, players for us this season. And that is offensive tackle Riley Reiff, which we hosted back in early June, and then Kwon Alexander. And at least according to reports recently, we did dish out some contract offers to them, and the ball's essentially in their court. Joe Douglas has marked what he feels the value for them is going to be at this point in time, and it seems like it's just a little bit of politics right now. They're out searching to see if they can find a better deal, and then considering the Jets' most recent history, we're still not going to be a prime destination for players, especially if money's similar between teams. So we shall see. I think, as I mentioned plenty of times before, training camp, maybe a week or two before, and we're coming up within that time period is really when we'll see it happen, because they're going to want some of that pre-knowledge they can work on and bring into training camp. But worst case scenario, if we bring them in first week still, we still have plenty of time to try to play catch up for players that shouldn't necessarily be, locking down a starting role. But we are talking about a key backup tackle position and a significant investment in our linebacker room from a player that you would be familiar with Kwon Alexander. So personally, it's going to be a waiting game. But I love the approach for people that think we're not out here just signing all the A-listers and, we're really just kind of, people hear us searching for value picks and they think, okay, we got, some dumpster fire players that used to be great and now aren't really serviceable, but that's not the case at all. And Joe Douglas has actually done a pretty significant job of being able to, capture players off the waiver wire and potentially some UDFAs as well. So we know that he has the eye for talent. I, for one, am going to trust, especially after his learning experience with the Robbie Anderson situation. But considering what happened there, I still wouldn't even think that most of us will say that was a bad loss for us. It was more so we knew what the production looked like. They had the chemistry between Darnold and Robbie, and that was really the selling point. But he didn't want to go above it, and I think minus that one season where Robbie Anderson broke the 1,000 yards with the Panthers, there hasn't been a whole lot of continued success from there. So with that said, Joe Douglas has put us in a very good cap situation in terms of not playing players that aren't on our team anymore, not overselling or overbuying on players, especially that aren't, top 5 at their position and things of that nature. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Do you feel like Joe Douglas is playing it too cautious? And these are players we absolutely need to lock down, or do you guys like this approach of, him ascertaining what the value that he expects these players will bring to the team is and not really budging from that? With that said, though, I'm looking forward to it, and I'll catch you guys again. Peace.